It's the Playhouse Podcast with Kat and JJ.
Believe it. I missed everything.
Missed the show?
What am I going to do?
Check out the Daily Podcast.
Hey, here comes our favorite moments of the week, including what took your kid just way too long to learn. Had some very interesting responses to that. And daycare horror stories. There's nothing worse than thinking your kid isn't in the best hands. If you missed any of our shows this week, you can catch up right now. Here we go.
Bingo! How fun!
Last week, someone lost an eye at bingo.
Bingo!
Bingo what bingo?
Bingo!
All right, so I was on the hunt for anyone that's been married 3 times or more. I have a friend who's getting married for the 4th time this summer, and Kat was on the hunt for anyone who's got a whole bunch of cousins. And as soon as you said that, boom, everybody started calling about the cousins. Hi, Philip. How are you, man?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good. How many cousins do you think you got?
Man, I have over 200 just on my dad's side.
Oh, my God.
What?
Okay, so no, like legitimately, these are your first cousins. These are your aunts and uncles having babies.
Well, if it's my first cousin, it's probably 100.
Okay, so you're counting their kids.
So how many brothers and sisters for your old man?
Well, my dad, he has 10, but he has 10 siblings, and each of them have at least 8 kids. But my grandpa, which is my dad's dad, he has 27 brothers and sisters.
Oh, my God.
Stop. I
That's
can't even.
crazy.
Hold on. I got to compartmentalize this. Your grandfather is one of 28 children?
Yes, sir.
And do you all live in the same region? Because then you have some questions to ask anybody that you're interested in, because the odds of
My
you being
family
related
is-
to them.
I never had outside friends beside my family until I was 15.
You didn't need any. You had built-in friends.
Was your grandma like, and this is not a joke at all, but was she like in a wheelchair?
No.
I mean, pushing out 28 kids, that's a full-time job for the majority of your life.
And you can't possibly parent that many. That's the Duggar style, where the older one parents the next one down, parents the next one down. Like,
So
that's a lot of work.
The big question here, Philip, is with all of these first cousins, were any of them really actually super hot? And if they weren't your first cousin, you'd have taken a run at it?
Oh, no, I'm not. Hell no. I mean, heck no. I look the best out of everybody. So.
Of course you do. Of course you do. Now, when you go to a family reunion, you guys got to rent out like a Major League Baseball stadium or something?
Yeah, like we take up a whole hotel.
Unbelievable. And where are you from?
I'm from Minnesota.
Okay.
I'm from Minneapolis, North Minneapolis.
Okay, and you guys are you all in this area? Like we can probably, like everybody is drivable?
I have cousins in every state in the United, except Hawaii.
Wow.
Good
That is
God,
so
man.
impressive.
This is crazy. Could you name most of them if you had to, though? I'm not asking you to, but could you?
Yeah. I don't even answer my phone on my birthday.
Oh, I wouldn't either. That would be obnoxious.
Hey, you're the best, man. Don't be a stranger. Have a great morning. All right.
He's funny.
Jocelyn, I'm glad you called the show, but after hearing Philip having, 200-ish cousins, I'm guessing you're not going to come close to that, are you?
Yeah, I mean, I thought my number was impressive, but then I heard you take him first in the call. I'm like, oh, no, I'm done. I'm done.
How many you got?
No, I think I have, I don't know the exact number. The last time I stopped counting was 52, but I think there's 56 first cousins.
Holy balls.
My dad has 8 siblings, and they're a very, religious Catholic family that grew up in, mid-Minnesota. And, yeah, the largest number of kids in one family for one of his siblings is 15 for one. So there's a total of 56. I want to say 56 total on his side. But then the funny thing, on my mom's side, I only have one cousin on my mom's side. So it's very, very skewed.
Yeah. You just can't do that anymore. You can't have that many kids anymore. It's not feasible, and live a good life because it's so expensive.
On the one side that's so big, were they the janky relatives that would always invite you to their kids' first and second birthday parties so that they wouldn't have to buy their kids toys and you'd buy them all?
Right. I mean, they didn't really throw birthday parties, honestly, because if you think about it, you're celebrating twice a month, and then plus you got holidays on top of it. So if anything, they did a random family dinner, and they just threw in, oh yeah, it's so and so's birthday, so I guess we'll we're technically celebrating that, but they didn't expect any gifts or anything because, they were Catholic, so they just, they didn't have the materialistic type of, life. I wouldn't call them Amish, but they were, they didn't do a lot of watching TV. They were raised on a farm and that kind of stuff.
That rhythm method really seems to work well to curb the population.
Yeah,
hey,
right?
Last question. Got the same one as I asked Philip. Any of those cousins super hot and you'd have made a run at it if they weren't blood relatives? Easy for me to say.
Wow.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
There's one or two.
Nope. Okay, maybe one.
Yeah.
Looking older,
All right.
older boy cousins that are like 10 years older than me, but that are good looking, but no way.
Pajamas at work are being celebrated today.
Good.
So both of us are like, let's go.
No, one day I wear jeans.
Oh, you actually? Oh, really? You dressed up for the show today?
Yeah.
But I wanted to go on the hunt real quick for anyone that gets to wear their jammies at work. So my wife gets to kind of do a hybrid thing. And there are days that I'll come home from the show and she completely is just jammied up still. She hasn't gotten out of sleepwear at all. It's her, the dog laying next to her, just tapping away at the laptop, coffee in front of her.
What a
just
life.
living that best life. So I'm on the hunt for anyone who either gets to wear jammies at work or you're really just at work, at home, in your pajamas. Will you call us real quick? I want to kind of dig into this a little bit better and get into your mind. You get to wear jammies for work. Do you really like it, or do you find that you're becoming a human slob? Do you really think that you've crossed that line and maybe not ready to re-enter society as a normal dressing human?
The difference between me and that is that I will get out of what I slept in, your far pajamas.
Right.
I shower, I put perfume on, and then I put more pajamas on. So they're fresh pajamas. Okay. But I feel like if you work from home, you probably still smell like fart.
And we've always been blessed with that kind of a job where rarely does anyone care what we wear. I want to bring Beth on the show because you got jammy fever, right?
I wear them everywhere. I even wore pajama pants to a funeral a few weeks ago.
Oh,
I
no.
made sure they were black, but they were definitely fuzzy.
Okay.
I had multiple people tell me they wish they would have thought of it. I wear pajamas to the store, to the bank, to the kids' school.
Okay.
I'm not going to lie. I've wore them to work before.
Sure.
They're just comfortable.
The funeral thing now, I'm trying to figure out how
They're
I
only
feel
saying
about that.
it's like them being nice because when they got in the car, they said, "Can you believe that she wore fuzzy pajama pants?"
Why do you have to
this
dress
funeral?"
up for a funeral?
Because it's the right thing to do. It shows respect.
You know what I'm going to do once I'm dead? I'm going to judge the hell out of everyone from above that didn't wear a suit and a tie to my funeral.
Yeah,
No.
I know you will.
That should be the one place you can wear pajamas.
There's a time and a place for everything. Like my wedding reception, did my cousin have to show up in her Duke sweatshirt? Probably not, but she did.
If you're a big fan, you got to support the team.
Yeah.
Ashley, a couple that wore jammies where?
Their wedding. Got married in their pajamas.
That was the
The
theme.
footy pajamas that were characters.
Sure.
I don't know the story. I didn't go to the wedding. I saw photos of the wedding.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why they chose to do it, but they got married on 420. So that might have something
Yeah,
to do with it.
420 will always do it. 420 and the footy jammies go together. Are you somebody that really just gets to wear your pajamas all day long? And how's that working? I would find it to be difficult to get out of a lax mood. You know what I mean? Like, it would be difficult to kind of just think work.
Yeah.
If you're always in your jammies, but maybe you're pulling it off. If so, we want to hear from you.
Listen to this audio because this is a situation that I find personally myself in maybe once or twice a day. And I do entertain it because I don't want somebody to feel bad, but I feel like this is how you would react.
I go to get a smoothie, and there was this annoying woman ahead of me, and she says to no one, "I just needed a pick-me-up because I got to go home and finish packing." We don't say anything. She's like, "Yeah, got to get all packed for my trip." The young woman and I exchange a brief look like, "Nope, we are not going to ask you about your trip because we know that it's going to be annoying." So she says, "Packing is hard." The woman behind the counter and I are just like, "Stay strong." And then the woman goes, "Hawaii." The young woman and I were just like, "Nope, same page."
Oh my God. This is every day. I'm always just in a position where somebody is like, well, and then I get to hear about it all.
I feed this. If this was happening to me, if I'm at Starbucks, there's somebody in front of me, they're clearly not with anyone else, and they go, just needed to pick me up. Right away, I would go, why? How's your day going?
Yeah.
And then they go, packing is hard. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, what are you all packing? Like, I like feeding that. There's a little bit of psychosis there that I dig into.
Well, they don't know that you're being sarcastic. They think that you
I could care less.
So, but that's kind of a win-win. So you're having fun playing a game, and they think that you're appreciating their company.
See? I'm not that bad of a guy after all.
No, you're not. No, you're not. But yeah, I just and the worst pharmacy lines, the worst. Nobody's in a good mood because you're either
you don't ask people what's wrong with them? I do it all the time.
I sit there and I'm on my phone and I'm just trying to not make contact. And then, if the line is going too slow, they're like, oh my God.
My daughter's a junior in college, and the last time I had to go to CVS, she had asked, hey, Dad, since you drive by, can you pick up my prescription and drop it off? And I said, yeah, no problem. And I'm standing there waiting for it. And the guy in front of me was like, and I go, man, are you okay? Is everything all right? And he's like, yeah, I just got to pick up like 5. He goes, 5 prescriptions. I go, oh my God, what's going on? What's wrong with you? And like he unloaded everything. He had fibromyalgia. Okay. He had rheumatoid arthritis. He had something else. And he's like, and they just can't get my medication right.
Oh.
So maybe time to switch doctors? Been with the same doctor for 35 years. I go, time to jump ship. Yeah. And you could tell he had never even thought of it. Hadn't crossed his mind. But if you're going to talk about what your ailment is in line at the pharmacy, you clearly need the attention. I'm going to give it to you.
I remember when I was in line and we were in front of all these magazines, and there was an older man in front of me, and he only had a couple of things, but the woman in front of him had a whole cartload. So we had a good amount of time to talk, and it was Reba on the cover, and she was like holding a bunch of food that she had made, and it was like Reba's cookbook, cook and eat just like Reba. And he was like, I don't want to eat like her. And I go, okay, well. And then he goes, I don't even like pie. And I said, well, maybe there are other recipes in there if you have a sweet tooth. I hate sweets. And I mean, it was just, sometimes people crave that interaction with humans, and I don't mind giving it back, but I find myself in that situation all
where
the
people
time.
are just mumbling stuff, and I love feeding
going to Hawaii.
Speaking of needing attention, look at line 3 here.
Good morning, JJ.
Richard, I was hoping you'd call.
You were?
Dude, I miss talking to you guys.
You just called yesterday.
I just talked to you yesterday.
I know, but I needed to bother you again because I'm bored. It's 6 a.m. and my coffee's running low, and I'll have to make a new pot, and I'm in a good mood.
So what does your day look like every day? I was curious about that.
Boring. It's just boring, non-tedious emailing.
And your emailing is for your business?
Yeah, just a couple of them, yeah.
All right, and that seems to be taking off for you?
Somewhat. We're making a lot of cases go through. It's tedious. I'm not directly
always grinding.
involved in
That's what I like about you, is always grinding. You think if you pumped up the energy a little bit, you might get some more response?
Well, JJ, I love your show and can't go without it every day when I am awake in the morning.
So do you think if you pumped up the energy a little bit, you'd get more response?
I do, but I need a specialized app to get what I want out of, like, my podcast.
But if you think you pumped up the energy a little bit more, you'd get a better response?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. All right. That's what I was looking for.
Finally got the answer you wanted.
All right, Richard, as always, good chat. Thanks for eating up some of our time here on the show.
All right. Stay safe.
Okay, we'll do that.
All right.
Bye.
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 It's amazing, right? No matter what. Even if you go, well, Kat was over here going like, they didn't even go into space. They didn't even go through real astronaut training or anything like that.
I literally could not even function during the show because this was my neck the whole time. I was watching. I just thought it was so sensational. Some people are like, oh, who cares? Yeah, you don't have the guts to go out there. I guarantee it. But they went up and it was cool. And now all of their family members can say, yeah, I have a family member that went to space.
Somebody did something amazing in my family. And Ashley, who did something amazing in your family?
My great-grandfather, he helped build a railroad to Alaska. They were out every day, drilling in those spikes by hand with hammers. And he was gone like 11 months out of the year.
Just all the live-long day working on the railroad.
Yeah. just like the song.
So what kind of
Absolutely.
stories does he tell? Like back in my day, like what, anything crazy happened? They ran into like a polar bear?
You know, honestly, I never even got to meet my great-grandpa. Everybody just talks about how he was just such an amazing guy. He was like 6'6", like super tall, really strong, obviously because he was like doing manual labor, extremely hard work every day, and only came home 1 month out of the year, and he and my great-grandma had 13 kids.
They really did pave the way.
Came home and just planted seeds, huh?
That's what Derek's grandmother, you know, she was pregnant every year and a half there. He'd come home and you know, have a new baby. But you know what's really funny is I bet he has just so many amazing stories if he were still around. And I just think of like our 12-year-olds now when they're 80, what they're telling their grandkids, like we went to the Minecraft movie and we would throw popcorn and even live chickens were running around. Like that's going to be their stories. But man, to be a fly on the wall.
I didn't have an Xbox until I was 7.
I know.
You guys know how hard my life was? Well, yeah. Well, my great-grandfather for 40 years swung a hammer to build a railroad.
We're thankful for
that.
that.
I just can't wait to see what or hear what's on the radio when we're in the nursing home.
Right?
40, 50 years from now.
It might be us.
So,
I mean,
real quick, he worked on that railroad for how many years?
I think it was probably like 7 or 8 years that he worked on the railroad.
11 months a year, he was swinging a hammer. They were laying timbers down and then laying metal over it just so that we could one day siphon off a butt ton of oil.
I wonder if he's like a lot of electricians out there where they'll drive by their work and they'll say, you know what, I wired that building.
I did that.
That's my father-in-law. He'll be like, you know that movie theater? I did that one.
Dang, great story. Thanks for sharing with us. I hope you have a really good day today.
You too.
Take care. If you were to fill in the blank, what would your blank be? I have a family member who was amazing because they blanked. What was so amazing about it? So this comes from a text we got early this morning, and I get that you wouldn't want to come on the air with something like this, but they were just venting, and I thought, well, I think there's a little bit of a feeling of a group mentality when people can comment on something like this, especially when it has to do with your kiddos.
Yeah, so when she reached out, she was talking about how there were a lot of red flags, and, you know, one being she couldn't really go inside the house. The woman would always bring the kids to the door. And then her youngest, or her oldest, who's 2, started getting some bruises, and then she started prodding for answers, like, what's going on? The woman's like, I'm not witnessing any falls, so this must be at home. You must be doing this at home or whatever, insinuating that she's a bad mom. And then she had her child, who's 2, over at her mom's because she took the child out of daycare. And the child was throwing a tantrum, and her mom lifted her hand to grab the fridge door handle, and the child shielded. And that's not a natural reaction. That is a learned reaction. And so right then and there, she's like, yes, I knew that my instincts were right. So she's since reported it. So hopefully it goes somewhere.
A lot of people texting in. Do you want to read that one from Miss B real quick? I don't want to say her name because this one was a little bit jarring.
I do want to do that. All right. So it says, I work for a daycare center that's fairly new, and I tell my close friends not to send their kids. We're short-staffed, overwhelmed, and don't have all the resources that we need to benefit the children, not to mention it's overpriced. So, Brianna, that goes back to my people tend to choose daycares that are very cheap, and sometimes you get what you pay for. And that's a shame because I get that you're probably a really great daycare provider, but you can only do so much. You know what I mean? And there are a lot of people texting in that they work at daycare centers that are like,
there's still a situation where there's a shortage, right? So you get your kid in anywhere you can.
Yeah.
Because you got to go to work. How's Amber doing today?
Good.
You been through something like
How are
this?
you?
I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, similar, yes. I have 6 kids, but I had 3 in a daycare, and my 9-month-old started coming home with bruises.
Okay.
My kids were, 5, 6, and 9 months. 9-month-old started coming home with bruises and stuff. I would go to pick him up from daycare, and my 9-month-old would be laying on the couch, covered with a blanket, completely still, thinking he was sleeping. He wasn't. He was just laying there wide awake. Started asking my other kids questions, and they had been witnessing abuse of my 9-month-old from the daycare provider.
So then you rage, or what was your next move? I mean, just
I reported it. Obviously, I reported it. Pulled my kids out. My first instinct was to go to her house, which is what I did.
Yeah.
I went there and raged first. Made reports. My children. She continued to come to my door and tell me that my children were lying because my children had the same stories, and my children didn't agree on anything.
Well, and they've got no reason to make this stuff up.
And you know your
Right.
child, like how they act on the weekends with mom and dad. You have your 9-month acting completely different when they come back from daycare. That is out of their character.
He was having he was not sleeping at night. He was crying.
Yeah.
And he was walking, and she was leaving him in a crib all day, locked in a room.
Breaks my heart.
I mean, I made reports and stuff. Nothing was ever done. She is still a daycare provider. And that was, let's see, my son is now 21. So that was 21 years ago, and she is still doing daycare. And I interviewed, I think I went to 6 or 7 daycares before I chose her, and she seemed great. I knew her husband, and it was a horrible experience.
Why do you think this happened to your kid? Was she, and now is she a bad person? Was she overwhelmed? Was she take on too many kids? I mean, you probably thought about this a million times. What'd you come up with?
My kids said that her and her husband were constantly fighting while they were there.
Oof.
And my kids were there for an evening, so they were there from 3 to 11. And
I would have never guessed that. I would have never guessed it kind of stemmed from, it's just something that doesn't get on your radar, that it stems from them having a little bit of a domestic issue.
Right. It seemed like a domestic issue, her being overwhelmed and still doing daycare, which she was having marital issues and taking it out on my 9-month-old because my other children weren't being, except for they were being locked in a bedroom at 7 o'clock at night.
Good Lord.
So it's like bedtime, do not come out. So she got paid to sleep, basically.
Amber, I don't want to cut you off. I'm running up against a time situation here, but I'm grateful that you called. All stuff that, should give parents another heads up on continually monitoring the situation. Ask your kids how it goes. Always kind of listen to them. So, again, thank you for your call. I really, really appreciate it. We call it OPP. It's other people's problems.
Can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me? Everybody!
We know a little bit about this, but I want you to just kind of break it down for everyone else, Trey. What's going on here in your life?
Yeah, man. My fiance, she's been like perfect all the way up until like a few months ago. I've noticed that she's been posting online so much, like her political views, and getting in these random online fights. It's gotten out of hand, and I noticed early how it was just one-sided, and I thought nothing of it. But then now she's just on her phone constantly, and it's getting in the way of our relationship. She even missed my birthday last week.
Oh, my God.
Wow. But she had stuff to post about politics.
Exactly.
Oh, my gosh.
So,
I always believe, and I always forever will, you are the company you keep. And so do people think that you live that life too?
Yeah, it's starting to affect me a little bit. I'm getting standoffish texts. I'm getting, weird cold shoulders.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. If my wife missed my birthday because she wanted to get in an outright bitching war on the internet about politics, I think that's a huge red flag, man. Like, I wouldn't blame you for calling this off. I'd be interested to see what our listeners think on this. So let's do this. I'm going to put you on hold. I'll kind of let you hear everything as people call in about this. We'll start taking calls now on it, okay?
Sounds good. Thanks.
Oh, my God. She missed his birthday because she was spending all her time arguing with people on the internet about politics.
So that's got to be tricky. You're not married yet, and this is a choice that you have to make for the rest of your life. So already you have a choice to make that could save you from happiness and heartache. But Dana had texted, my husband wasn't into politics when we got married. 10 years in, he started getting obsessed. And so I had to make one rule, kind of like, we don't talk about Bruno. We don't talk about politics in our house. And sometimes you just have to say that. Like, I love you and I want to keep loving you, but
You're hard to love?
your obsession is not making me happy. So.
Gabe texted in, if you marry her, man, you're the problem. Stand up for yourself. And then this one from Andrea, which kind of hit hard. She said, no excuses. If she loves to argue with just idiots on the internet, you're next. Can you imagine that? I just can't, every day, if that was part of your life. Your thoughts, hit us up. So I have a friend who does radio in Omaha, and he was out 9 days. He had to have vocal surgery. They had a nodule. They found a nodule on. He kept getting sick, and they found a nodule on one of his vocal cords.
That's a scary procedure with somebody that uses that. That's their livelihood.
Right. I've always said I can do this job in traction, but when I get a cold or if something happens to the voice, well, then it's pretty difficult. So I wanted to know, like, who's been out of work the longest? Got a text from Nikki. She said 60 plus days from a car accident that shattered my heel.
Oh, wow.
When I slammed on the brakes, somebody pulled out in front of us doing 55 miles an hour. Another text came in, this one from Lisa. I was out of work for 3.5 months because I had a rectal abscess.
Woo.
They had to put a drain tube that came out of my butt. Basically, it was a ball that suctioned all of the fluid out of the abscess.
Girl.
All of this while I was pregnant and couldn't even sit down to drive to work, leading to the discovery of the abscess. I thought I just had a hemorrhoid that was inflamed. TMI, I know, LOL. I appreciate your text. How about this one?
Can you imagine not being able to sit down, period, and then when you're carrying around a big pregnant belly?
You just got to lay on your belly? Is that what you do? You just lay on your
lay
bed?
on your side. Lay on your side. You can't sit down. Ooh, that's crazy.
Got this text from Shannon who said, I'm going on 2.5 months at this point for a multitude of strokes. 45 total. 44 were mini. The 45th one, slightly larger, caused numbness in my right leg and arm. I'm still trying to get control of my fine motor functions in my right hand. I see a neurologist coming up in May again, and I'll know whether they could recommend that I go back to work. Tim, how much work did you miss?
9 months.
Oh, my God. What
9
happened?
months, yeah, for what?
So I went in thinking that I had pneumonia, and they checked my oxygen level, and it was super low. Here I had a spontaneous pneumothorax, collapsed lung.
So you were basically working with one lung?
Yeah.
And what did you do for work? Like, was it something strenuous? So you kind of were breathing hard often, or did you have a desk job? Or
I was actually a manager at PetSmart, one of 3 down in the cities.
So you got to be moving. You're always on your feet.
Yeah, I was stocking shelves and whatnot, but I'd just walk across the store and I was out of breath. And the other manager said, "Man, you better go get it checked out." And I was like, "Oh God, I hate the hospitals." But
if you back time this, do you know what led to this?
I honestly don't. They tell me that it's because I'm tall and skinny.
Okay, and what do you do for a collapsed lung like this? Do they just kind of pump it back up and sew you back up, or what?
Well, after they told me this, they told me, "Well, call into work. You're not going to be going back for at least 6 months." And I was like, "What?" And they said, "Yeah, we've got surgery ready. You're going to be going into surgery right now." They put a big tube in my side.
Yeah.
And basically kept me in the hospital for, I don't know, it was like a week and a half. And it just sat there and bubbled.
So what did PetSmart say to that? What did PetSmart say to you, saying, "I'll be back in about 9 months, a little less than a year"? I'll
see you in 3 seasons?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. My general manager, she flipped.
Well, it's out of your
What are your
control.
options?
Did they hold that job for you? Were you able to go back to it?
I did, actually, yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. So
Nice.
they held your job. And how long before you were able to just kind of like get up and move around and feel like normal again?
Oh, boy, that was quite a while. It was about 4 months, I'd say.
Okay.
I was basically laying around on the couch.
How long ago did this happen, and do you feel like normal now?
This was probably 20 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And that was, I mean, yeah, I feel normal now, but.
Like you can get on the treadmill and go for a 35-minute walk now, and it's not that bad, or is this limiting your life?
Oh, no, I could probably do that if I had the desire to.
I hear you, sister. I hear you.
But nine months, I mean, you had to go stir crazy at that point too, right? Like most of us are always like, oh, if I wouldn't work, if I didn't have to go to work. But like after 9 months of just laying around, that had to be nutty.
Well, yeah, I was in my 20s and I was, wanting to get out and do stuff.
Yeah.
now. I mean, if it happened now, I'd be like, oh, sweet.
Well, in your 20s, you didn't have any kids or anything like that, right?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, imagine if you had 3 kids at home at that point, like how useless you would have felt.
If I had to pick the best time of your life to go through something like this, it would probably be that. Didn't have a career, mortgage, all that stuff. So,
all right. Well, hey, thanks for sharing with us, man. I'm glad you're doing well. I appreciate your story.
Yep. Have a good day, guys.
Yeah, you too. Take care. Hope you have an amazing Easter weekend. When we're back Monday, we're still working on the secret sound for $1,000, a crack at $50,000 to celebrate our 50th birthday. And how about more money, like 500,000 pennies? You can win all of this Monday when you join the live show from 6 till 10. Right now, let's wrap up your podcast.
got in trouble in school. You have to hear this teacher. He just felt like these students were cheating on a test that they were doing. And he's like, okay, I'm going to give them a way out.
I knew this kid was cheating, but I didn't see him actually do it. After the quiz, I go, all right, here's the deal. I know one of you cheated. If you email me after class and you say, hey, sorry, I cheated, won't happen again, my bad, whatever, I'll let you retake it for up to a 50. If you don't email me, if you don't admit it, you're just going to get a 0 and you have to keep it. I got 6 emails. Sorry, won't happen again. When can I come in to retake it?
Oh, that's the way to go, man.
And really, he only had his eye on one of them. And he's like, oh, my God, I had 6 of them doing that. So, yeah, they all got in trouble.
I'm on the hunt for anyone listening who just up and left it all. I found out over the weekend that I have a high school friend, a guy that I knew really, really well in high school. Probably haven't had that much contact with since. But he and his wife and his 2 kids just up and they sold the family farm. I mean, this farm was probably worth millions.
Well, I'm happy it wasn't just him that left his family and went rogue and off the
But they
grid.
had like several generations of people that were running this farm, right? And they sold it for like pennies on the dollar and just moved to some cabin in Wyoming.
Farming is not for the weak. Maybe they were like, this is not our life. Like, we can't handle this.
But where I come from, if your family's farming, you're farming. That's just it. You're just going to be a farmer.
Yeah, and I get it. But what if it's like I don't want your life? Like, we want a different life.
He's 50 years old, though, and he just up and left it all.
Well, YOLO.
Like, that's a bold move.
Mm-hmm.
So you just up and left it all. Either of these fit, you got to call us right now. Hi, Christy with a Y. How are you?
Good. How are you?
We're great. Tell me about the trouble you used to get into in school.
Okay. Well, so one time in 6th grade, I grew up in Southern California. My dad was like super political, like it was just really bad. And so we had an assignment in 6th grade, and it was to write a letter to the White House. And Bill Clinton was in the office at the time. And so, I mean, all my dad ever did was talk crap about politics. So in my mind, my dad don't like you. I don't like you.
Oh, you wrote a hate letter to Bill Clinton?
You guys, I wrote a death threat. I told them I was in 6th grade. I was like, my family's going to blow up you. We don't like you. Just all this stuff. And then a couple days go by. I get called to the principal's office. Like the CIA was there from D.C. They were like super official. They had earpieces. Like I was scared. I got expelled. Like all this stuff happened. And then my dad took me out to eat after that because he
was super proud.
That I stood up for him.
That's my girl.
And I was like, I was so scared. They like came to my house. They like searched the whole house. I mean, it was like a big, scary thing. And so
if you were to do that in 3rd grade, probably wouldn't have been a big deal at all. But did you mention at all in the letter, like, my dad's going to find you and he's going to kill you? Or was it just your plan as a young kid?
It was my plan. Like we don't like you. It was just, I'm going to come and blow up the White House. Like,
my
I don't remember because it was 6th grade, but like, yeah, it was, now that I think about it, it's not funny because, you know, I'm 40 years old and I understand threats like that. But in 6th grade, I was like, I hate you.
Wow.
Is this on your permanent record?
Yes. Oh, I'm sure they're probably watching me. I don't know officially, but I'm sure that I've been like on this watch list.
Yeah.
Since the 90s.
That is crazy. And you see it a lot, like, you know, as of, you know, when Trump started running, you know, how many years ago and how long he's been in our life with politics. The kids that just repeat what their parents say And then you're like, you don't know what you're talking about, So it's kind of dangerous to talk politics in front of your kids, no matter if you were for Biden or Trump or Bush or whatever. Like, they don't understand it. And then that could get them into some trouble. So,
and just to understand the wrap up of this thing, you go out of your way to threaten the life of the leader of the free world. And because of that, you got taken out to Sizzler.
Yes, we went out. Yes, we went out to lunch. My dad was, I got in trouble with the school and the DC CIA, but my dad was like, hey, let's go get some food.
This is bananas. So many people saying, my daughter's in the 9th grade. She still doesn't know how to ride a bike. Stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're getting a ride from everyone, let's say you don't live in town. You really ever want to learn to ride a bike?
Yeah, but that many years, you didn't ever want to ride a bike at all around your neighborhood.
Or maybe you lived right next to everyone and you could just walk all the time. Hi, Sam. How you feeling this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
We're really good. We're just kind of talking about things that we feel like it took our kids way too long to learn. What's on your radar?
Yeah, wiping their own butt.
Oh, so
definitely took forever.
What was the day? What was the moment? Because it's like we remember where we were when Michael Jackson died. What was the moment?
I don't know if wiping your own butt is on the same level.
Oh, I bet if it
OJ off his wife.
monopolized her life, like you remember the moment that they just started doing it themselves.
Well, probably after he went to school and had to.
Had
himself at school.
Right, you can't just yell, Mom, wipe me.
Liam used to yell, butt department. My mother-in-law taught him that. And so when he'd yell butt department in Target, Walmart, all the places, I had to go back in the stall and take care of business. So
he was 6, 7 before he got to the point where he was good about this.
Oh, at least, yeah. And then, when the underwear comes through the laundry like semi-clean, they're starting to get it.
Now, for what it's worth, I know Kat can attest to her husband being probably in his late 30s before they figured this out. So I think you'll be all right if he's mastered it by the time
there's areas, there's like crevices I didn't even know about, like wiping a marker. So I get the hyper wiper and just wanting to get everything clean. So does he live a pretty clean life now, or are there still some moments that you see maybe he didn't get everything?
Well, he's 13 now, so it's good. I think he's got it.
Okay. And nothing will build your confidence faster than your mom coming on a syndicated radio show telling everyone that you still couldn't wipe your own butt at 13. So good job, Mom. You got that out of the way. I'm sure he's going to live a fruitful life now, but I can get it, man. Like it's one of those things that you're like, God, you should be able to figure this out. But as adults, we just assume that everyone else can get it. And those kiddos are just like, until they have to. So thanks for sharing with us. Have a great morning.
Yeah, you too.
What else did it just take way too long for you to be able to, your kid to be able to do?
Matthew just messaged me, DM'd me. Why are you talking about me? I said, it's a great story because a lot of people can relate to you, Matthew, because sometimes your kids just don't pick it up. And
nothing will make you feel less like a man than not being able to teach your kid to ride a bike and then having to put a post on social media going, can anyone? And then somebody comes over and 5 minutes later it's happening.
But that's the Facebook village. Somebody came over and taught her, and now she is well on her way to just biking all summer. So it worked out, Matthew, and you gave us something to talk about. So.
Good morning, guys. We were in our big station meeting on Monday, and one of the guys that works kind of behind the scenes does a lot of the stuff when we're on the streets. His name is Brendan. And we always do a good news segment to start. What's good in your week? We haven't met for a week. What's good? Everybody kind of goes around. Kat's like, I got to watch my son play basketball this weekend. And we get to Brendan, and he goes, my package arrived. I've been waiting for.
Gave him a nerd voice.
He goes,
my Amazon package arrived. And it was a dice holder for his D&D game that he plays.
All his different dices.
Yeah.
And Kat was like, I can't relate to one word this guy is saying.
I was like, but you did. Well, you had like a longer conversation about it.
I had an experience with this because I worked at a place where we sold all the different sided die for a lot of Dungeons and Dragons players. And so we started talking about just things you simply can't relate to. Would you like to start? Or is that just it? You
that
simply
was
can't.
it.
So
well,
I put together a list.
And then I just, the person that I was talking about who like all she can talk about is dogs, and I can't relate. I've had dogs, but no longer an interest of mine. You know, I don't know if it was ever an interest of mine, but
They were just there.
they were just there. They were our pets. I loved them, but that was the extent. And it's just something I can't relate to.
I put together a quick list of things that I just simply can't relate on at all. Real Housewives, anything. I don't know where they all live. I don't know how they find all these people. Kat seems infatuated by it, and I can't get a grip on it. I can't relate to anything Kardashians because for the life of me, I still don't understand how they got so rich, and I'm just sitting here doing a dopey radio show.
How have you and I lasted so long when you can't identify with anything
I can't
I'm interested in?
relate to anything political.
Yeah.
I don't have an interest in it enough. It's never going to fluff my feathers enough where I'm going to care, especially argue on the internet with somebody about it. And then the other one that really, really, really I can't relate to is people who mouth kiss their pets.
Yes.
Like when you let a dog lick your face, like it's one thing on the cheek, or every once in a while, like I'll have my head down, I'll be rolling on the ground with our dog and it'll lick me on the top of my bald head.
Yeah.
Even that for me is gross. But if my dog ever stuck its tongue in my mouth,
that'd be it.
We would have Addison sandwiches later on that day. So I can't relate with any of that. Lucas, what can't you relate with, man?
Farmers.
You can't relate.
Growing up in a small town, everybody's a farmer or lives in the country and does farm work and working at a company that majority of them are farmers or old farmers.
Yeah.
So they're all talking about all their old farming days, and you're like, I'm just a city boy. I can't even talk with you about this.
Well, it's funny because I grew up in a farm town, but never grew up on a farm, so I never had that experience. And all my friends, we all were, into video games.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as everybody else is out doing chores, you were playing Super Mario Kart.
Pretty much.
Do you
I
find-
mean, obviously our world can't go round without people that wake up at the buck crack of dawn and tend to the fields. But is there anything that you found to relate to the farm kids at school? Or was it just like they stuck with their crowd, you stuck with your gaming crowd?
For the most part, yeah, we stuck to our own crowds. A lot of the farm kids were into the sports, and I just got done with school, and I went straight home and turned on my game console and started playing.
Now, do you feel like you're missing something in your life, or are you okay not being able to relate to these guys?
The idea of driving a tractor around is kind of cool, but on the other hand, I'd rather just take my skateboard and cruise around town.
There's a lot of poop involved in the farming, too. Are you into that?
Not really.
Okay.
More of the smell, but